Well, yes, it's Thursday morning, and I'm not doing a formal live stream. It's hard to believe. December 10th already, 2020. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome as you come in. This won't, I always say I'm not going to have a long one, but this time of the morning in particular, I like people to go listen to David Knight if you're going to listen to anybody on YouTube, well, he's not on YouTube. If you're going to listen to anybody, let's just put it that way, it should be David Knight at this time of the morning. But I have a little information that I thought I'd better get up right away. Before I go any further, Roosevelt, if those of you who know Roosevelt, they took down his channel, and his new channel is Roosevelt News. I should have put a link in the description box on that. Maybe I'll do it later, but at any rate, his new channel is Roosevelt News. I think is how it's labeled. So they took him down because he had information on Q that he was debunking Q, and they took him down. Evil morons at YouTube, yeah, evil morons. All right, so let me just get to the nuts and bolts here. In the description box below is a link to a briefing that Dr. Lyons gave at the Pennsylvania State House, I think, is where it is. He was one of, I guess, several doctors that were talking about this entire ridiculous situation that basically the politicization of this entire situation with the COVID 19 and the vax. And it's very good. The only thing that he said that I had a question about was, why the news media and everybody are so against Trump on this thing. Well, I that kind of threw me because Trump's the one that pushed Moderna, uh, got the Sluey character from Moderna to be his head of Operation Warp Speed, Sluey Monsef, who is really a bad dude actually. And of course, Trump continues to push his national emergency on all of this rather than rescinding it. So I'm not sure why Dr. Lyons went there. Maybe it was just a way to just kind of calm down things. I don't know. I think he could have gotten by without even saying what he says, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's about a 10 or 12 minute speech that he gives there in Pennsylvania. Yeah, Trump is behind this, and he's able to stand back and have everybody else do the dirty work while he claims to be a victim when he's pushing it harder than anybody else. In fact, I keep getting these notes on my Twitter line and probably even in the comments section. No, Trump is against this. He's trying to stop it. No, he isn't. No, he's not. Oh, it's the governors, it's the mayors, and we've all gone there. I'm not going to stay there, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, he's pushing it. Uh, and people are saying, well, it'll be worse under Biden. It's not going to matter. Okay, it's not going to matter. But regardless, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. Go in the description box when we're done here. And it's worth taking 10 minutes of your time and listening to Dr. Lyons' speech. He lays it out pretty well. And he's a real scientist, okay? He's not a moron like Fauci. By the way, I happen to know a person, and I'm just going to say this, okay? I happen to know a person who knew Dr. Carrie Mullis very, very well. And Carrie Mullis, whoa, oh, that's not good. And Carrie Mullis said that the PCR test is not to be used the way it's being used now. Number one, and Dr. Lyons says the same thing, and also that Fauci is a criminal. Okay, he's a fake doctor because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know even what he knows. And there's a YouTube video of an interview with Kerry Mullis where he actually says that. Actually, there's several. But at any rate, I wanted you to know that there are people out there that know, and that people like Trump and the senators and the congressmen and the people in the government and in corporations are not having your best interest at heart in all this. And I'm including Trump. They are coming after you. Okay, that's what it is. And it's to take away your humanity. That's what it's about. First by changing you, making you more susceptible to disease, and then killing you outright. Hey, Nancy, you're here. Good morning. I'm just doing a fast one, Nancy. In the description box below, you might find something that's really interesting, although you probably already know about it. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that. I've beaten that horse. You know, if people want to go down this road with this whole nonsense, I can't stop them, and most of you won't be able to stop them either. There's no way to the powers that be are going down this road, and that's just the way it is. We're on our own, like I said, and a lot of us are going to be hurting because of it. As a matter of fact, Dr. Lyons here says that what they're doing is worse than the disease, than this coronavirus would ever have done. So go look at it. I doubt that it'll be up long. They'll probably take it down, especially now that I'm referring to it. So you're going to have to go see it pretty fast. Okay, the next thing I wanted to jump into, I said I was going to do a rather formal presentation on the alien deal. But I'm still not ready to do that. I'm trying to get a hold of somebody, and I haven't been able to, that can speak about it authoritatively. So that may not happen the way I want. But I did want to bring up this whole thing with the Israeli people, bringing up the fact that, and some of you have seen this, and I've referred to it already, that the aliens are real, that they have made contact with all the leaders in the world, and that Trump wanted to bring it out, but the aliens said, no, we're not ready for that. Really? And that there's testing. If you've looked at, go see Israeli News Live, Stephen Ben-Nun, which is kind of interesting. I doubt that that's his real last name. It could be, but I kind of doubt it. Stephen Ben-Nun means Stephen, son of Noon. So I don't know, could be, I suppose. But at any rate, on Israeli News Live, he's been covering this, talking about this alien thing, and he has a quote from this Israeli official who says that the aliens have been here for some time, and that there have been agreements made with the leaders of the nations, and they all agreed to allow this testing to being done. Apparently this quote didn't talk about just the testing of the medical stuff, okay, or whatever, but that was the illusion. That's how he alluded to it, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit. And of course, also, if you go read the information, you know what I think I'll go ahead and put a link in the description box when we're done here on that. If you haven't seen it, I've referred to it on my Twitter account, retweeted it quite a bit. Basically, these aliens supposedly are wanting to really alter mankind, and that's the information. That's the way you get it when you read this thing and when you hear what they're up to. So what I want to address is a couple of things that I am privy to. I was not privy to anything in the military directly. In my positions there, I was not. However, I have been, and I've talked about a couple of these things before, I have been involved somewhat in this whole UFO phenomenon for quite some time, actually since I was about 12 or 13. And I've talked about this before, and I just wanted to bring it up because, I heard this with my own ears, and the scientist from NASA was right there both times. Okay, the first one, when I was 11 or 12 or 13, somewhere in there, and my mom worked at Goddard Space Flight Center. I talked about this before, and she brought a NASA scientist over for dinner. And then we went back to my little office room where I did my homework and all that kind of stuff. I had my globe and my maps of the stars and all of this, and we sat there and we talked for some time. And this astrophysicist told me, but I'm just a young kid, so he's not worried about me blabbering about this to anybody of any consequence at the time, that yes, UFOs and aliens are real and that they've known about them for some time. That was from a NASA dude. Okay. Now I know NASA and NASA in Hebrew means deceit. I understand that. Okay, but and some of these acronyms are chosen on purpose just for those reasons. Like we were talking about MAGA for Trump. I don't think that was an error or just a coincidence either. And that, of course, means sorcerer, magic, witch, those types of things. But at any rate, that was my first indication that this was true. Now, uh, there was another incident that happened. It's been about, let's see, how long ago was that? I think it was in 2010, maybe 2011. I don't recall now, but I knew a retired NASA scientist, for real, and he asked me. I didn't bring it up. It was like he wanted to see where I sat on the issue, and I think I've brought this up before too. He said to me, "Do you think we actually went to the moon?" And I said, "Well, I had a young son that actually was the one who introduced me to some anomalies in that. As a matter of fact, my son at the time that did this was about 10 years old or so, and he had watched a thing on the possibility that we had not really gone to the moon. And I watched it, and I thought, well, that's pretty obvious that these anomalies are in there. The photographic and video anomalies, not mentioning a lot of the other things that probably a lot of people know about. And I know this causes a lot of arguments amongst people because they want to really believe that that we did go to the moon, and that the evidence is there. Oh, we've got a rock from the moon. Oh, okay. Oh, this is the phone that Nixon talked to the astronauts on. There's Roosevelt right there. Roosevelt News. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't on the phone, Roosevelt. I'll do it next time I'm on my computer. Okay. My phone won't let me do it. I've tried before. But yeah, I will do that, sir. Thank you so much. You did want me to do that. I'm being lazy this morning. Okay. So, anyway, this NASA scientist this time said, he's a different guy, of course. And he asked me if I thought we had gone to the moon, and I said, well, really, I don't. And he says, well, I'm glad to hear you say that because we still don't know how to get through the Van Allen belts. And this was in 2010 or 11. Now, subsequent to that, there was a NASA engineer who came on, and some of you have probably seen the video on television, Netflix, I don't know what it was. And he said the same thing. We haven't figured out how to get through the Van Allen belts, and we lost the telemetry data on how to get to the moon. What? Even if they had lost the telemetry data, they couldn't do it now with the advanced computer systems they have. It's all nonsense. But these are things that come up, and then of course there have been some really close pictures of the lunar module and some of those things where you realize that thing couldn't have possibly gone to the moon. I'm just telling you what the NASA engineers have told me. These people that I know from NASA. Now, along with that, I have a friend. He has a ranch, and I think I've talked about this before as well. I had an eyewitness sighting of one of these things, and we were at his home, and we hadn't been discussing it or anything like that. And he yells at me to come outside. And I think I've talked about this before. And off to the west, over the closest mountain, is this thing, and it's obviously sitting there. It's not a plane coming in and then going to make a turn. It's sitting there, and these little smaller like modules or something are coming out the bottom of it and then shooting and going away. Several of them, and it's there for quite some time. And finally it started to move, and it came kind of closer and then just shot away. It was gone. It was almost like it just kind of disappeared into thin air. So it definitely wasn't a plane turning or anything like that. And then a few minutes later, fighter jets were surrounding the area. They saturated the whole area. They were all over the place. At least I guess they were fighter jets. We couldn't really tell, but that's kind of how they were flying, and kind of the sound and the movement and all that. Surveillance craft of some sort. So that was, something that I actually witnessed. Now, what do I think that was? I don't know. Are there aliens from other planets? Maybe it's just a convenient term to say aliens. these days, I am more apt to believe that these are the fallen angels that have been released. I'm beginning to think that more and more all the time, uh, especially with the situation with the this whole thing with all the leaders in the world getting on board with this COVID-19 response, the shutting down of the nations, the way that people have been harmed by this, both economically, emotionally, spiritually, and soon physically with these vaxes, which are untested. I noticed that one person said, the first group of vaxes that come through may be somewhat benign so that people will relax and then go and get their others. I really don't know how it's going to come down. That it would seem like to me they might as well just do it while they've got us, kind of like last year in March when they shut us down. And I said, you know what? They're not going to let us out of this thing. Everybody's saying, oh, it's just going to be 2 weeks, right? And I said, no, they've got us by the short hairs now. They're not going to let up. And so far, that's been the case. So now my feeling is that it's the same thing's going to be with the vax. They want to hit us hard the first time because they don't want us backing out later. So that's how I'm looking at it. But it could go either way. At any rate, the point is that there are this entire response by all of the world leaders all at once on the same thing, especially when you consider what Dr. Lyons and people like him. We're all aware of people like Dr. Madej and all of that. We all know about these things. But it's good to see these actual scientists speak up, who are then like there was a state doctor in, I forget where it was now. He was like a chief medical officer in the state or something, and they fired him because he spoke out against the COVID response, especially the way they're, the whole thing. So science now is a religion. You either believe it or you're punished, just like in the Inquisition. You either believe or you're punished, and that's exactly what science is now. Truth is Master on Twitter, who also came here and was responding to some of your questions about a month ago or so, is a medical doctor, and he's very concerned about what's happening, but he's also said that basically he's silenced as well. So we have all of this happening. That this agreement was originally made between science and the church many years ago. I've talked about that. And then Truth is Master brought it up the other day that fine line has again been now usurped by by science, especially the medical tyrants. And it's now you either believe what we tell you or you're punished. So that's where it's gone. So what force? What was it? At first I thought the first thing that caused all these nations to run towards this thing was the social safety nets that they've put into place that they can't afford anymore. That it was all just to do with money and banking and all that. But I think I've come to the conclusion now, maybe some of you have as well, that it's something bigger than that. It's something way, way bigger than that. And it has to do with, it has to be with a superior intelligence of some sort that these leaders of these nations are on board with at this point in time. And that would include a lot of governors, and even on down below that, even possibly mayors, etc. For whatever reason, whether promises that they'll survive this culling, or they'll be given a ruling spot at the table. I don't know. Whatever that they have been promised. So that's kind of my take on it, and I wanted to get somebody else on here to talk about it, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to do that. The fallen angels are becoming more real to me every day. I don't know how it is to you. At least their influence through a human host, possibly with the AI connection and the chips, as I've discussed before. So I know that I'm kind of rambling a little bit here, but I didn't want to just pass this subject by. The fact of the matter is that it could be a psyop of some sort to convince people, blue beam and all of that, that this is real, uh, but at the same time, I see evidence that it probably is real. I've read Enoch. I know Pam. I've read Enoch. Okay, I'm very well versed on all the apocrypha and pseudepigrapha. Uh, I know about all of that. Okay, I know about the fallen angel. Okay, I've done all that. All right, I've probably done a lot more study than well, I have, as a matter of fact. I've done a lot more study on that than most people, and on a wide spectrum. Okay, so I'm very familiar with that. Uh, I think we're going to see something fairly substantial here pretty soon. I really honestly believe that Trump is going to retain power somehow. I still think that that's the case. Whether it's through this whole Supreme Court thing, which, I'm not an attorney, although I look at it and I think, well, Mark Pantano says that, the Supreme Court's not going to go along with this Texas argument because, if they do that, then, they would be interfering with the states operating their own elections. I don't know how it's going to go. Uh, all I know is that all the things that are occurring are designed to crush your hope. And in the end, you'll submit to anybody who can, or who you think can sustain that hope. I think that's where it's going. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we don't see something pretty significant about these aliens here fairly soon. Regardless whether it's a hoax or if it's real, the end result will be the same. Okay? And I think you just need to be aware of that. Well, like I said, I'm just rambling on here. My major thing is Dr. Lyons below. I'll put some other information together on this whole thing with the fallen angels and the aliens and how they're related. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. So I'll just leave it there. You need to go listen to David Knight too. Pantano is not a shill. No, he's not. Definitely not. Yeah, you're right, Nancy. No, Pantano's a well qualified constitutional attorney. I believe he teaches in a college too. I believe he's a professor. I don't know that for sure, but I think I've seen Nancy mention that a couple times. Uh, and so far, Mark has been right about a lot of things. He does. Yeah, I thought so. Thank you, Nancy. No, you can't dismiss Mark Pantano or Legal Man, also on Twitter, who's he goes by the moniker Legal Man. Uh, the I think it's the nation's most trusted lawyer or something like that. I'm not sure, but he's very much, of course, very well versed in this as well. Mark Levin is a hack. I've known that for quite a long time, and people like him. Um, they go where the money is. I hate to say it, but they just do. So Mark Pantano's calling out. The only thing that Mark Pantano, yeah, I'm not sure that Mark Pantano has a hatred for Trump. I think it's like me. I'm just disgusted with the guy. I'm totally disgusted with Trump. On Twitter, I've been, you all that follow me on Twitter, you know what I've been saying about him the last few days. I have no respect for the man, none whatsoever. I don't hate him, but I think I know what he is. I'm 95% sure about who and what he is. Okay, and I don't have any respect for him, and I consider him an enemy of a mankind. I keep having these people tell me how he's done all this good, and I said, well, Biden hasn't done it. He's done it. He's done it. Everything they say Biden's going to do, Trump's done to a great degree. Look at that video of that poor lady in Los Angeles who was trying to comply. You've all seen it probably. Who was trying to comply with the restrictions, and then they put up she had an outside dining area and all that, and then they let the movie company put up an outside dining area right next to her without the restriction. I mean, she's losing everything, she says, and nobody's there to help. Trump said he didn't want the cure to be worse than the disease, right? Well, then he hasn't acted according to his words. And I do believe that he has submitted to an alien power. Alien meaning not human. Fallen angels, possibly. Nephilim, possibly. Nephilim, possibly. Go listen to Israeli News Live on that. They have, like everybody else, they make mistakes too, but the information is still important for you to at least consider. Okay, I'm going to go. Again, I just wanted to do a little informal thing this morning, just so you didn't think I'd totally forgotten. And we'll probably see you in a few days. Please go listen to Dr. Lyons in the description box below. And I'll try to remember, Roosevelt, to put your. Oh, hi, Jesse. Thank you, too. I'll try to put your link to your new channel in there as well. Okay, at least I'll try to talk it up a little bit. All right. Okay, out here for now, everybody. Take care. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Situational awareness on high. Stand firm. Do not take the test. There have been some things now, like I said, almost a year ago now, in March, that it looks like they were implanting things back in your, very close to your brain, at the back of your nasal cavity, with those long Q-tips. If the disease is supposedly so contagious, they wouldn't need to do that. That's just ridiculous. That was something else was going on there, and then of course the vaccine is going to take us over the edge, and the desire is that. And when you read this thing on Israeli News Live, you'll see what I'm talking about, that the supposed aliens, who are probably really the fallen angels, want to replace God. That's really what they want people to submit and to put away their false notions of spirituality. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Vaccines can be distributed through the nasal swabs. Yes, I brought that up last June, I believe, or April. I said that because it's very similar to the sugar cubes that they used to give the polio vaccine to kids back in the 50s and 60s. So yeah, it can be. And it's not really a vaccine anyway. It's not a vaccine. None of these things that are coming out are real vaccines. None of them. They're doing something else. They're implanting bad things in your body, okay, that can turn you off in a very short period of time. Okay, please go listen to Dr. Lyons and then get back to David Knight, okay, everybody? All right, we'll see you out here.